We'll have to find out as we head towards Champion Select right now.
We'll see if there's been any substitutions. So we had a new jungler in game number 1. That was Cleanut. Cleanut showed up in that one. So I'm hoping Cleanut will stay in game number 2. And maybe Spirit will go to a different level. Kingzone going to first ban on the blue side Kuro's Yasuo. Now, Aiming has played it more times, but Kuro played it last series for the side of Afreeca Freecs. So no Yasuo allowed in this one.
Yeah, not wanting to have that flexibility available to them. Afreeca, of course, have to ban the Aatrox. What are they going to do as far as adaptation here on the red side that's been evolving? Doesn't anymore need to be the Nocturne, Aatrox, and Taliyah. It just feels like Aatrox and Taliyah have to be taken away, and you can sometimes get away with a cheeky forced ban of the Taliyah on the blue side as well.
Well, I'd like to see a cheeky ban on that pesky Rakan, unless Kingzone want to play it themselves. Wow. Xayah Rakan, very possible from the side of the Afreeca Freecs. Is LeBlanc, actually, like you mentioned, is a surprising first-round ban, but maybe BD just says, I'm liking this
the Azir. I want to first pick Azir.
He is 7-1 on Azir since spring season started. Now that you've included the Game 1 victory, it's one of his best performing champions. So wait and see if he'll be going that way. I think, honestly, BD is either going to play Taliyah or Azir. I don't think you can ban both of them if you're the other Afreeca Freecs. So maybe you can, because you don't really care about Swain or Nocturne really that much against the team. But we'll wait and see. Kingzone's final ban. So far, no Tucson bans.
Well, Kingzone, we'll see what they ban finally here. It could be the Vel'Koz if they're going to go full anti-Azir counter.
Most teams ban at least one Tucson
Talon
champion, but they don't ban any Tucson champions by banning away that Talon. So sticking on the Kuro bans.
A little bit rough to leave open Xayah Rakan that have been so incredibly popular so far. Could be a second round ban pretty easily on the red side.
Or they could go Comet Varus into it, which seems to be the new age counter. So maybe Varus Morgana.
That's true.
To try to beat the Xayah Rakan. The Varus is actually going to be banned. That's an intelligent ban by Afreeca, because Varus is seen as his answer to the recent Xayah Rakan priority. Zoe's left open, and BDD needs no second introduction to first pick it on the blue side.
Yeah. BDD's played 2 champions more than twice so far this season. It's Zoe and Aurelia, and his Zoe has got by far the better KDA and win rate. He's looked pretty good. Sort of had a bit of a slump on the Zoe pick, but Orianna being considered now, as Kuro can pretty comfortably pick that one into the Zoe.
Definitely feel good about it in terms of the lane matchup. We've seen it lose, so it's not necessarily 100% one-sided, but the trades are really reliable. Now, the Dissonance got that 2 seconds less cooldown. Again, we're on patch 8.13, guys. I know EULCS is 8.14. We hope to have that from Tuesday, but it is 8.13 as this would be another new this week trend in the LCK. Ever since Deft and KT Rolster a bit more brash about the spots where you can pick up the Kai'Sa, a lot of teams have been taking away from that same playbook, and we do have Kai'Sa first rounded by Afreeca Freecs.
And now we could have that Zoe Ezreal that we've seen so often here in the LCK this season. Ezreal going to be locked in, and now Tahm Kench is pretty free as well if Kingzone want to pick it up. Few different options though if Gorilla wants to mix it up.
It's really strong with the poke champions they have, but it is the sort of champion that Orianna can do a number on. So
true.
Just a evolving question there. They'll still go for it, because if you get that first turret with Ezreal, he shows up with 2 items and an Abyssal Voyage behind someone, good things happen, Atlas. So
yeah,
the Abyssal Voyage still going to be massive value regardless of what's going on from Afreeca. And they're going to take the Alistar, so sticking with the comfort for Tucson. But Afreeca Freecs, they've got the scaling mid laner in the Orianna. The Kai'Sa Alistar, though, that's going to be the more interesting thing to see if they can leverage, because in game number 1, the game ended before the Kai'Sa really could pop off.
Yeah, weren't too many opportunities for the Kai'Sa to get her work done, but still believing in Aiming's ability to pilot it. Kingzone certainly were able to navigate the bottom lane matchup pretty easily. As the thing that I found so curious is that no Trundle to be looked at, no Sejuani. Now the Kindred going to be banned here from Afreeca, as Kingzone could get rid of both of those high-tier junglers, and Spirit going to have to go into the depths of his pretty massive champion pool over all the years that he's been playing.
Definitely don't disagree with your kind of bewilderment, because Trundle first pick has been very standard for about the last 6 or 7 match days. I feel like the patches are iterating really fast. We have never had a scenario like this where, honestly, 2 days later, it feels like the champions have been reclassified from S tier to B tier. A C tier champion suddenly first pick in the Orianna. Things have changed really, really quickly in Korea. And honestly, sometimes series on series, they can change, and the waxing and waning is something we can only really understand over the course of multiple sample sizes rather than just sticking on single games, but it is definitely stark to see no Trundle drafted yet, and probably no Trundle ban necessarily coming in.
Yeah, and two of our players that really do like to jump onto the Trundle as well. Looks like it's going to be Afreeca and Kingzone trading Sejuani's, but not the Trundle, as Kingzone are going to ban that one away. Peanut, we know, certainly very respectful of that pick, is aiming. What is he going to go towards? It feels like Sejuani is pretty damn free at this point.
Looking for a jungler and also a top laner, our Afreeca Freecs. The Nocturne is up, and they're going to go for a Nocturne compy. And Nocturne Ori don't always have the most synergy because of leash ranges on the ball in particular.
Yeah, you can deliver it to him on his way in, though, which is really fun.
And Tucson also is a very good ball delivery system. So they will be going for the Nocturne here. Let's see what Peanut makes of this. And just look for the Sejuani that we saw Spirit playing in game number 1. Another level 6 jungler. You're definitely a little bit more reticent to go for the Zac when Nocturne can really ruin your vision. Remember that as the Zac, you need to load up like an artillery, and then if the paranoia comes in, you actually aren't going to be able to find that perfect spot for the elastic slingshot. So Sejuani, a bit more reliable because of the power of the vision reduction of the Nocturne.
And you can also punish the relatively slow speed of the jungle in the early game a little bit more with the Sejuani, given your extra ability to lane. As speaking of laning, Khan going to go for more of a laning top laner in the Gnar, most likely. Yep. Clock ticks down, and that's going to be Gnar for Khan this time around.
Blind Gnar is the 8-13 meta post-Rift Rivals in Korea. People don't care about the Kennen matchup. They don't like the Jace matchup, but Jace gets banned quite frequently first or second round. The Gnar is beating the Kennen more often than not. Maybe that's because we've seen more AD Kennen, but the Cho'Gath is seen as the early choice. It seems very likely that Keen will just go for that one, although if you want to be aggressive, you can go Camille. But going Camille when you have a Nocturne jungle rather than the jungler that can give you assistance pre-level 6 is actually pretty bold. But Keen says, well, going for the standard stuff hasn't worked for me in particular, as my team has lost around it. So he wants to dominate lane on the aggressive Camille pick.
Well, now it's going to be the aggressive Kingzone team composition against what looks like a bunker that Afreeca have built for themselves. They want to buckle down and try and make it to the later stages of the game where they've got 3 items on things like Orianna and Kai'Sa. Kingzone last time did not give them that opportunity, though, and Afreeca are going to have a rough time in the early game, most likely.
But man, is the win condition so clear here.
Oh, yeah.
Ezreal, Zoe, rock up. The Gnar starts throwing ranged auto attacks. Let's siege. Afreeca says, just wait a moment. We're waiting for our precise timing on the ball delivery system. So it is siege versus...
All right, Kingzone fans raising their voices, feeling like Kingzone got a little bit of respect back after their game number 1.
As Peanut is bouncing around on his big porro.
Yep. Really feels like an ambition skin to me now. Plays the Porro one every single time.
We're ready for the Ambition Jarvan skin. That's going to come out next week, although we get almost no Jarvan here. Maybe some Jarvan top into Rumble will be the thing.
Well, we saw it at Rift Rivals.
Yeah, Tuesday, hopefully, we'll see some Genji rolling out the old Samsung Galaxy skins.
Papa, you were talking about the Jarvan, but you talk about Genji, I just want to see Gnar over and over again.
Well, I always want to see Cowbell Atlas, so I'm very happy that Tucson has obliged.
And Tucson really needs to have a bit of a bounce-back performance here. This game, the Braum was a little wanting. Game number 1.
Honestly, he's had a down couple of weeks, has Tucson, after being such a star in spring season especially. Summer has been a bit of a summer hangover for him. Haven't found as many carry performances, and less for Khan games in general. That was his dominant pick in spring. Watching here, aiming in Tucson. Usually we see the Supercharger for level 1 doing some pushing, but when Q, I imagine, to help with the leash, and that means that aiming for now. Gonna have to deal with the wave in kind of an odd spot in bot lane.
Yeah, pushing pretty far forward here. As Spirit on a ward, but is going to be able to take this Rift Scuttler uncontested. Rani also going to do the same thing. Her favorite thing to do is kill Rift Scuttles.
Spirit spotted on a ward. Poking in to put down his own ward on the Raptors.
But is in position here for a counter gank, theoretically, as Spirit's actually just going to beeline across. Just says, hey guys, high fives. Kuro on his way towards his Ripper.
He went the path that was basically impossible to meet the enemy jungler and just accepted that he would take a couple of autos from the Zoe, so it was actually a controlled path, even though it looked incredibly aggressive.
It looked a bit weird. The level 2 gank coming in from the Nocturne that wasn't actually a gank. It was just he wanted to get to the rest of his camps.
He ganked his own mid laner's experience a little bit.
Hey, that's true. But speaking of which, BDD probably going to have a pretty good time here in this lane, even if the harassment going to be there from Kuro. The Orianna relatively slow when it comes to moving towards danger.
And I gotta say, you see Orianna and you think, oh yeah, it's a classic mid laner on Orianna, as we find Spirit just trying to be a jerk in Peanut's jungle. I don't think of Kuro as a career Orianna player. Obviously, he was a Victor, just like Crown was when it came to a lot of those control mages, but definitely don't remember too many massive shockwaves from Kuro on the Rocks Tigers or in past days. He's not the prototype of an Orianna player like a lot of other mid laners in Korea are. He's played a lot of Orianna games, 36 games, but he's 18 and 18 on the pick, and this is of course a pick that has been played so much. So a 50% win rate with the teams that Kuro has been on shows you that he's not necessarily the top tier of Orianna player that some of the Orianna players are in Korea.
Yeah, and given the metas that were coming as well, it was certainly Orianna had to be your blind pick mid laner for a little bit there. So I'm also a little bit perplexed. When you were saying Victor, I thought you were going to say victim, because he's been the victim of some pretty phenomenal Orianna players over his career.
Well, you're going to have to get Victor back on the mind, because there's that 100 range buff on his W next patch. And I imagine if we see Crown on that team sheet, or even Kuro, the Victor could be back.
The gravity field buffs. Love it. Able to turn things around a little bit here for the champion is, okay, BDD, Trouble Bubble is going to come in there, but now they're turning it. Okay, the fear to come in, but Peanut's going to flash over. BDD is going to stay alive, and Kuro now trying to run after him. Red buff's there, the tongue lash as well. He's been exhausted, the cleanse is now down, and they're going to push through for another one. Permafrost comes in, Trouble Bubble is going to land, aiming, one last shot, he can do it, picks up the Zoe kill, and they've answered it. Orianna eventually falls, but it's 2 for 2.
2 for 2 is actually much worse than you might have thought at the start for Kingzone. I thought Spirit played that almost perfectly. Got the initial W off, the spell shield, in order not to go down early. When the dust settles, there's actually a kill to the Kai'Sa that you would really rather not happen. Spirit, watch when he actually uses the spell shield. Right at the start of this clip, he's able to use it to not take the Trouble Bubble. BDD falls low. The big chase is on. The Conga line joins. Kingzone react first, but the battle is so extended that eventually it ends up being 2 for 2 overall.
Yeah, the Trouble Bubble was very good, but the flash comes in from aiming. Just means that it's all over. Pretty lucky that Spirit fell down in the end. He was on a sliver of health.
See what it means for see what it means for summoners. Aiming and Tucson basically used everything short of the teleport. Note the Prey now has 2 different forms of gap close available to him, so we'll see if there's any punishment in the bot lane on that one.
Prey's getting pushed in. Tucson going to wrap around here. Has a red buff on the cow, so got to watch out for him punching you in the face. Sorry, hoofing you in the face.
Means he can take aggressive trades and have the red buff health regen as well to get through what can be a tough laning phase. Alistair will always take quite a lot of incremental damage getting through lanes. Merc Tread's first pickup from Kuro, so the assist gold did allow him to get that entire 1100 gold purchase.
Aiming going to go for the Storm Razor build this time around, by the looks of things, with the BF sword. The Fairy Charm, not sure what that's doing, but it's there.
As a true mage in the mid lane now, so it doesn't feel as priced in to go for an AP build, and it's a little bit less hard CC, given the Nocturne doesn't provide any, so don't mind. Storm Razor has the 1-item power spike that Rageblade Nationals Tooth takes a little bit longer to get online, and given that he never got online in game number 1 in terms of teamfight readiness, I like the idea of going for a bit of burst.
This time, Prey doesn't feel priced into getting the Sheen without the tier because he could afford both on his first back. He does so, teleports back in, and now feels like he can go for a bit of a tussle with these two. The BF sword was keeping aiming in the lead as far as tempo, and now the item lead going over to Prey. It is all going to change.
Just a lot of ruby crystals in the inventory at the moment. We have
really
5 ruby crystals being sat on. Don't see that too often.
Khan's going to be building towards Black Cleaver with his, Keen, the Phage, and eventually Trinity Force for his. So.
Wait and see the Tiamat timing for Keen can definitely be different.
Yeah, when's he going to weave that one in there?
But We set our expectations a lot earlier. Kingzone, just like game 1 to some degree, but probably even more so, very much about timings this game. Zoe gets to 1.5 items, Ludens into situational, and ready to start sieging. Ezreal 2 items, needs no introduction. They have incredibly oppressive siege, and Sejuani just threatens with her ultimate to try to zone for the siegers. Meanwhile, Afreeca Freecs have very strong engage. Nocturne, Orianna, Camille, Alistar is an engage comp, and you were talking a little bit about the fact that clumping might not happen for Kingzone, that Ezreal might be able to disengage something like a Shockwave. Aiming can then fly in, and you have to feel like if the siege champions are all walking back, if they're very concerned about their own positioning, then the killer instinct and Kai'Sa's mobility will probably just take over a fight with the movement speed from the dissonance. So I think Afreeca are really set up for the team fights here, but they need a bit of time to get there. We always know that about an Orianna Kai'Sa comp. Double bubble hits.
Yep. Lots of damage is going to come down. Remember, Augmented was that True Shot barrage, is aiming down to 300 health. And they're taking a dragon in the meantime as well. Pressure is on this bottom side of the map for Kingzone DragonX. That's every single dragon for them. Remember, they're the highest dragon-taking team here in the LCK. Certainly going to be continuing buffing that stat here against Afreeca.
And then they try to keep up the pace. They want to make the play happen where they take bot lane turret, they Abyssal Voyage into mid, and take a very early turret there. The Abyssal Voyage play into mid after Kuro got caught mid-Valkyrie by the Zac in game number 1 was the real tempo play. That was the kind of first, but like maybe the most pronounced nail in the coffin of Afreeca in game number 1. Any play like that, the earlier they can get to siege, the better is, well, this is a siege breaking play.
Well, we're going to see whether it is going to be the Tahm Kench surviving or not. 2 versus 3 here is Peanut, not going to be able to get there in time, and another kill goes over to aiming. Fantastic for Afreeca Freecs, trying to get to that game 3.
Gorilla was really trying to work out his timings there, knew that there was no way he was going to live, so dies into the Death Chamber. They were not able to turn that around. Nice pathing from Spirit. We've seen a lot of poor Nocturne play this week. Hopefully we can see Spirit, one of the Nocturne classics, back in the act.
Yeah, trying to make it work out for Afreeca Freecs. And have a look at it again, because the first Paranoia feels very much like the first Destiny that we see out of Twisted Fates of old.
Flash was up onto the Tahm Kench, but really no time to flash through this, and the burst damage surprises him a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
Kai'Sa able to kill people where they stand, and no exhaust used either.
But fantastic for Spirit to be successful with the first one. Having tempo advantage, now that that level 6 has been hit for the Nocturne, is brilliant. A lot of our Nocturnes that have been falling down just haven't really found any of those opportunities to get the Paranoias to work, which is why I liken it to that of the Twisted Fate, where you look at the first couple of Destinies, and if they work, then you're going to have a really rough game if you're against the Twisted Fate. Otherwise, you can keep him at bay. But as it stands, Spirit just going to be going home. We'll be able to finish off his Warrior Enchant now. Not ahead in gold. 500 gold is the lead for Peanut there, actually, because he has managed to pick up First Blood, so the Sejuani in a good spot. But you're looking at this scaling comp from Afreeca, and yes, Kingzone are in the lead by 1,000 gold, but who cares? 1,000 gold's basically nothing. They need to get more of an advantage here. Shelly will help if they can go in and take her, but there is a control ward in the back of that pit, and full information has gone over to the Afreeca Freecs.
They also have a teleport disadvantage on their marksman for about another 15 seconds here. Prey does not have teleport. Not sure if Gorilla has a charge, but might be able to join with the Unsealed Spellbook. Tucson has gone for Aftershock this time, so doesn't have the ability to join a cross-map play unless he does it the honest way and hoofs his way over with his Mobies. Wow. Keen and Khan have been isolated in the top side, and that has meant no big CS lead for Keen, but he's doing just fine, all things considered.
Yeah, Khan as well, having a pretty good time here against the Camille, as well as he's able to shove the wave in and go down and try and take down Shelly. BDD is able to set himself up, doesn't find the trouble bubble, but is able to use it to zone.
Paranoia's back up as well.
Yeah, Khan's going to flash Nara into the wall here, but the hook shot is going to go through it. Keen gets out successfully as Tucson gets himself right into the middle, and another Paranoia to fly forward. There's the ball. Shockwave onto 2 members of the Afreeca Freecs are trying to get the team fight, but BDD, he's dancing around, and Gorilla so low, but still survives, aiming with the killer instinct into the backline for the damn double kill as Prey's trying to punish him. Not sure whether he's able to do enough here, though, as they trade kills, and that is a disaster. Stopwatch comes down as Kuro. Is he able to find Shelly and BDD? I'm not sure, but the Paddle Star isn't enough. Oh, good God. Picks up the triple, and BDD may be set up to win this game.
There was 2 backline fights happening at the same time. Aiming getting so much value on the Kai'Sa, and then the 1v1. Old mid laner versus new mid laner. Kuro versus BDD. BDD just gets it over. 9 people just died.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now we've got a 5-1 damn Kai'Sa on the map.
So you think it's all going to be over when the Wombo starts, but watch what happens here. No one goes down instantly from King Zone. They try to open up space. You think, okay, it's over, but Aiming repositions, gets 1 kill, kills Khan as well. Prey can't make it happen, but we were focused on one side or the other. On the top side here, around the Rift Herald, the battle is so close, but BD weaves in spells again and again. The actual Rift Herald was doing killing in this fight. Who it was leashing to was so important. BD doesn't get the kill with the first auto, but manages to get the little portal jump in to get the final auto down, and that more Sparkles passive. That one was close, but Kingzone inch ahead.
Yeah, seeing that flash go down on the ground as well, and then instantly using it was unbelievable. BDD, we've always praised him for his Zoe. Has not necessarily been making the big plays like he did in the early Zoe experiences, but certainly did in that last team fight, and it could be a sign for things to come here for BDD as they're looking for a siege bottom side. Kingzone should be able to get first brick from this to continue their tempo lead here in this game. Remember, a minute away from the Dragon.
Remember, they never got the Rift Herald. While there was a lot of damage done around the Rift Herald, they got kills, they didn't get the Rift Herald. So getting the bot lane turret and starting the turret destruction sieging that we alluded to, Atlas, the main win condition here is how much Kingzone can get done around the one-item Ludens on the Zoe and also Trinity Force Ezreal. Those things are about to coalesce at 15 minutes, and whether they can get the Rift Herald and keep up the tempo is the difference between Kingzone winning this game and Afreeca outscaling them.
Yeah. Well, you might think that the 5-1 Kai'Sa was going to be ahead of the Ezreal. She's not. She's 500 gold behind. Kleptomancy, thank you very much for just giving Prey billions of gold. Does have the first turret advantage, local gold from that, as well as a bit of a CS lead, so a few more things adding to that factor, but still, Klepto's dumb. Just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention yet again. And Shelly now could potentially be under fire.
I like how you saying Klepto's dumb makes me think of Man Hates Mondays for obvious things. Klepto Ezreal, been nerfed 400,000 times. Still the same as Keen's in some strife.
Yep, Abyssal Voyage going to come in. That's the ultimate completely nailed. Everyone layering the CC. See you later, Camille. They're going to be able to turn this into a tower on the top side, and Spirit's trying to trade it for an Ocean Drake 15 minutes into the game.
I must admit, for my own edification, I just watched the CC bar and saw if it ever dropped. It did.
Yeah, it did. And Keen's health bar certainly did in exchange for that one. Afreeca Freecs going to trade bottom turret outer for top turret outer. And Kingzone going to be able to get Shelly as well. So trading up, because Kingzone do just have that tempo lead that we've been talking about a lot.
And they trade up where they want to trade up. They want Rift Herald. That's exactly the objective they want. They want to snowball structures wherever possible. But getting the Rift Herald is not going to be a guarantee. We could see 9 more deaths in just a couple of seconds.
Yes, yet another fight around this area. Khan's going to move in, but he's exhausted. And finally, Shelly's going to reset instantly. Kingzone are going to recall, try and get out of here, as Shelly says no to Khan. Damn, she's angry. She's cranky. She's well cranky.
I mean, the poor girl. Some people came to visit her, and then 9 people died on her lawn in front of her.
That's true, and it made a big mess.
Exactly. Someone had to clean that up. It was poor Shelly.
Yeah, and Shelly's she's been trying to snooze. She's only got another, 4 minutes on this map, and she's just a bit tired now. She's been here for a while. Just stop it, guys. 2-item spike, though, for Prey. So next time, Shelly has a bunch of people fighting on her lawn. Might feel a little bit better to be a Kingzone fan. Aiming not quite with his Rage Blade picked up just yet, as the True Shot Barrage is going to clip the Kai'Sa.
I don't think I've ever cast a team fight where 10 people died in front of Shelly, so 9 is probably the record now for me. Because not only is there a double ace at pre-20 minutes into the game.
That's true. You don't often get that. And now that we're in this teleport meta, where teleport's pretty busted, rip teleport after the next round of nerfs is going to hit it, but at the moment, likely that we're going to have the most sort of action when it comes to Shelly's front lawn.
I love that the extension of Kingzone won a siege and Afreeca won a team fight is the 3rd potential fight over Rift Herald could be coming soon.
Yeah.
We're back at it. Kingzone know exactly where their bread is buttered. They really, really want Rift Herald.
They do have the map control up towards this side, and finally, Peanut's able to lock that one down. Scryer's Bloom going to spot BDD. he's going to be okay. He hasn't been back for a very long time. 3-1 and 3 now on the Zoe. See what items are going to come in when he finally does get back there as Khan. He's going to go Mega. I don't know whether they're going to push any further forward on the side of the Afreeca Freecs, so BDD just picks up this minion wave. We'll probably go spend a bucket of money that he has picked up.
So for our viewers at home, given all the table setting we did about the game being decided around this point, 18 minutes in, 2 items on the Ezreal, Luden's on the Zoe, they might be asking, well, who's favorite? Right now, it's actually perilously close. Kingzone, because it's such a high kill game, it's a higher gold game than you might expect. Usually at 18 minutes, it's not 32,000 gold to 30,000. So a lot of people have died. The farm has been predictably pretty good, not outstanding. It's not 10 a minute for most of these champions on the Rift. Aiming also has way more gold than you would expect for a Kai'Sa who has a very poor laning phase. By the time we actually see the Rift Herald go down, or maybe even aiming on the screen compared to her enemies, she might have 2 items and just be a monster. So the Kai'Sa's ahead. So actually, really, it's about the execution of the next play by Kingzone. They're in a good spot. They've managed to reach the minimum, but Afreeca are ahead. Tucson getting caught.
Yeah,
Whoa.
Unbreakable Will is going to fly forward as Prey picks up the kill. Special delivery, and the Ezreal grabs it with the True Shot Barrage. Kingzone now with a lot of control. Remember, Eye of the Void is still there, and they've got a man advantage for any siege they want to go into.
And that's the sort of thing that doesn't get shown and where the game state was at a moment ago. I felt like Afreeca were just, does aiming free hit? If so, even though Kingzone is strong, they might just still lose a team fight. Now Kingzone can load up, they can get deep wards down. They're not worried about the members of Afreeca setting up for defense. We're just waiting for this Rift Herald summon as everyone rolls mid.
Peanut as well. I mean, he's on a killing mission so far this series. 7 out of 9 kill participation here. As we will just yell at the Rift Herald. As Bristle looked adorable there as a Poro self. Kingzone set up. Shelly will get a charge. It's not going to take it down in one hit, but Ezreal's going to help out.
And skill shots are plenty. What are you going to do against Zoe Ezreal?
Yep. That's a bit of a problem, and no one's going to sit still long enough to land all of this CC on them as Spirit. He was waiting for a Paranoia double charge to come in from Shelly as Kingzone. They prepared this wave earlier, now move forward. Keen is down here, but he's not the one with all of the AoE wave clear, and Kingzone will get some decent damage onto this inner turret.
Kai'Sa is way stronger, has the Rageblade Storm Race, is a monster if she free hits. So Afreeca, if they get the right engage and can get some cooldowns out of Kingzone, it's still possible for Afreeca to turn around this game.
Well, if they lose their Kai'Sa as well, it's possible that Kingzone just take a Baron within the next 6 minutes. We're going to be looking at what Kingzone can do to accelerate this game. This is one of the tests that they've failed in recent memory, and will be fantastic for any Kingzone fans if they can prove to us now that in back-to-back games, they make decisive plays and understand how to engineer them correctly as well with the comp that they have.
And you know what? I'm confident they can. You might say, oh, Bias Caster loves Kingzone. The reason is, we got tank junglers. We don't have Kindred here. It's much easier to move forward when you have a marksman and a tank jungler. Kingzone have all the experience on that, so I think they are ready to do so. They're on a comp they know how to execute, but Afreeca still can turn around this game.
Well, they're also looking for a potential dive up here. There's the Pulverize, but only onto the tank that you were talking about. Tucson spending a lot of time by himself under this turret, as there's the ultimate once again from Peanut. Man, he's having a day out today as Prey once again going to just pick up what was thrown down, and Khan gnaws him into the wall, destroys him. Peanut grabs the kill. Well deserved at the same time. Kingzone DragonX may just be able to take themselves a Baron here if aiming isn't just able to take down Prey in one rotation. Good lord, he doesn't have teleport available either, so that honestly, that play by itself would have just saved the Baron.
Aiming just needs Tucson to stop really being a bit dead weight here. He makes a big mistake going for that turret. It was so low chance to work, and now Kuro's here, trying to get some coverage from his team. Afreeca Freecs, you don't need to be turret diving with an Alistar with no minion wave. It's one of the few ways you can actually give Kingzone a big skirmish advantage. They go back to the side lanes. Afreeca need better execution than they're getting out of their usually MVP candidate support.
Yeah, it was very, very odd. It felt like there was a call there that just didn't actually get followed up on. Strange. This is actually part of the criticism that we were giving most recently to Kingzone in a series gone by, when they were suffering.
Tucson's been so good. He's been wonderful in 2018, but whether it's Trundle or Alistar, people are really loving the I'm going to turret dive with no minions, and Alistar's a bit stronger than Trundle in that particular way, but You think about how a fight is supposed to happen. There's supposed to be general disarray, CC on the backline, and aiming free hitting. Instead, when Tucson went in, aiming was actually tanking the turret and then had to disengage, and there was never going to be any space for her to free auto because they were under the enemy turret, so it was really wonky execution that needs to be cleaned up. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how many kills the Kai'Sa has. Her front line will die, and the team fight will end.
Well, speaking of team fights, we might have a little bit of extra movement speed going over to King Zone. 2 Cloud Drakes is so much better than just one. It's absolutely amazing. So if Afreeca had have got it, probably would have been fine for King Zone because that's only 1 apiece. But now, with a couple, King Zone will be difficult to lock down in a lot of these fights, and Afreeca Freecs do not want them to be any more slippery, especially considering the composition. As Trouble Bubble going to get the ultimate out of Tucson, that's a huge deal. The Void Seeker's not going to be able to seek what it's looking for. Total damage going over to Kuro. Still able to throw a lot to the side of the Afreeca Freecs, but praise on Ezreal, so he's going to be doing work as well.
Brought up already how Kai'Sa was the central champion in the LCK Spring Final. Isn't it amusing that Afreeca could never get the Kai'Sa, and now Afreeca have had the Kai'Sa both
They also
games.
never banned the Kai'Sa.
They didn't. That was
final.
the thing that people were definitely complaining about, and they did interviews afterwards saying, well, we scrimmed against it. Prey was better than we expected. Our strategies didn't work. This time they actually have double Kai'Sa, so Afreeca has been on the Kai'Sa, and this is the Kai'Sa you dream of. This is the Kai'Sa who is ready to take over a game, actually piggybacking on the Camille to look for some pick kills. The hard CC does, of course, from the hook shot, enable the killer instinct, and the kill will very swiftly follow. Kai'Sa still is massive, but Kai'Sa now relenting, and it seems like Keen is the one who's going to be collapsed on again.
Doesn't quite get the hop, but will get the slowdown now as Keen has to flash. Hyperproc comes in though, as Khan does have a lot of chase potential. B2D looking for the Trouble Bubble, but Hookshot's back up again, and Afreeca Freecs will now be able to get all of this vision control around the Baron that they were desperately fighting for earlier, because Keen took a lot of attention.
We can get the vision, like you say, clear out a bit. It's not going to be supremacy in the area, but the defensive vision is very good. However, King Zone can cheat a bit with defensive vision. It turns out Trouble Bubble through the wall is a good way to get a bonus pick, whether you have vision or not. Clearing out the spotting ward here and the pixel brush.
Going to trade back all that vision as well pretty easily. Khan not having to deal with any of the Afreeca Freecs down here on the bottom side, because as soon as King Zone are up here on the top side of the map, if anyone moves down to try and get a man advantage over Khan, the Baron dies. How it is going to go.
They have a 3-turret-to-1 lead. Oh, outers are down at the right timer. King Zone just push up, start throwing down Trouble Bubbles, and know if they're able to get a pick, Baron is going to follow very swiftly. Spirit is pretty far behind. Another Nocturne that hasn't been able to get off the ground. I know in the EULCS and the NALCS, it's still going to be a contested pick, but right now Nocturne very underperforming in the LCK meta.
Yeah, people just falling off the hype train a little bit as Spirit, going to get some attack speed from that one. Nicely done. Uses the spell shield to get out of the way as Prey, probably pretty scared of that Void Seeker, but just going to clear out vision, continue adding pressure, adding tempo, and 5,000, the gold lead for King Zone DragonX. Of course, Afreeca Freecs probably still pretty happy with how this game is going. That Baron is not dead and swirling around King Zone. They're still going to be okay with it if they're not losing turrets for no reason.
If they don't get poked out before they start a fight also, I think Afreeca still win 7 out of 10 fights because they have the setups for that. So right now, Afreeca Freecs, like you say, definitely game could be better, but it could also be a lot worse for the Afreeca Freecs. As many Kai'Sa comps where the Kai'Sa is, let's say, at 8,000 gold at this time, and 0-3-0, and the comp just can never actually take off. This Kai'Sa is equal in gold to the Ezreal in many ways, and thus is ready to be unleashed into a team fight. So should be second turret going down soon. Their siege is not the best.
Well, that is a lot of damage onto Aiming, who gets himself a shield, but the ult's going to fly forward once again from Peanut. They really want to defend this turret. Unbreakable Will is available, but Tucson going to use it relatively early, and for disengage, keeping himself alive purposes, Trouble Bubble again going to go wide as King Zone just chased them away from the outer turret top lane.
One of those days, we've all had them on Alistair, whether we auto-filled or we play the champion, pulverizes the floor, uses the ult a bit early. Things don't come together for Tucson, so he's out of the fight for a little while here. It's King Zone again. We'll get that control around the Baron. Not going to be any inner turret damage. It's going to be lethal, but here's a teleport.
Yep, Peanut's actually going to poke his head in as well as he's looking for aiming. Supercharge gets him out of the way, but True Shot Barrage is just going to spot everyone on the Afreeca Freecs as Kingzone are so aggressively positioned. Peanut clears out even more vision, and we'll see whether they're actually comfortable trying to take down this Baron. Kuro could be in trouble as Tucson almost straight up explodes. Burning down with the red buff, but it's not quite enough to get the kill. Didn't have the ignite ticking or anything like that as B2D over the wall once again with the portal jump. I
saw the ticking damage and assumed B2D ignited him, but he didn't use his ignite actually there. So the Alistair does live. Going to be out of the fight for a long time. Can't teleport, doesn't have Unsealed Spellbook. That means Kingzone's on the Baron.
Yeah, look at all of this vision control they have around the area. They know exactly what the Afreeca Freecs are doing and know that there's only 4 members here. It's down low. It's going to be a 50-50 as they're inside the pit. It's taken by the Tom Kench with his smite from the Spellbook. But Kingzone, they're not out of the woods just yet. We're trading. And Peanut's going to flash out. Prey as well. Getting himself out of this fight as Keen just delivers himself to the enemy team. That was a bit of a mistake as that Trouble Bubble, amazing, onto Kuro, buying them space. Peanut trying to be the hero. He just wanted to be bait to keep some of these purple buffs on the side of Kingzone.
Kingzone have to be happy that they didn't have wards in every brush from the enemy, otherwise aiming was ready to kill everyone. Pentakill territory there, as there was no threat onto him. See Prey just arcane shift in and Bilgewater him to the face. You might do well to not trifle with this man too much.
Yep, True Shot Barrage is going to go wide as well as the Mystic Shot, but finally Afreeca Freecs are able to take down this top outer turret. What is the power play going to be here for Kingzone? They've got the Baron on both the Ezreal and the Zoe, so they can push a couple of lanes here for the next 2.5 minutes. But can they break all of these inner turrets that they really want to? As aiming wants to take this fight to Prey. Khan going to teleport for, oh my god, the turnaround! And Prey's going to get it. That should have been aiming's kill, but the teleport was too good.
The baited, outsmarted play as well. They had the control vision there. No idea that Gnar was going to come and take him down. Definitely aiming too hard on the paint there. He definitely was feeling that this was the moment, but goes down for a second time. That means that Kingzone retain their map control. They can push up with Prey's Baron.
And you can also tell that aiming's feeling so much of the pressure. He knows that a lot of the onus of the damage of winning these team fights is on him. And you can see he's able to do it in the last team fight. It doesn't matter, they weren't able to stop the Baron.
He'll do it more often than not. Remember, he has a lot of kills and he has Orianna for just dissonance movement speed. As long as he doesn't take the wrong killer instinct, he is set up to carry a fight, but he goes down there, and that means Kingzone get the inner turret.
Now, Kuro having to deal with this Archangels and Neuromana. Ezreal, as he's going to get devoured, actually. Okay, we're trying to find it. Oh, the Shockwave, not quite enough. The Gnar in the wall just to try and create even more chaos. But so far, the trade is 1-for-1. Aiming, making his way into this fight, is able to get a little bit of damage down, but it wasn't the free-hitting Kai'Sa that we were terrified of, and it's a 1-for-1 in the end.
Took Kai'Sa a while to get into range for the killer instinct, and thus only was able to auto-attack down the Tahm Kench in the front line. Kingzone can still load up. Remember, when these ults are down, when the engage is down, the Siege comp will always outdo the teamfight comp when the teamfight ults are on cooldown, so another objective goes down for Kingzone.
Well, speaking of ults on cooldown, Peanut is going to use his, but they get rid of these inner turrets that we were talking about earlier, extend the lead to 8.5 thousand gold, and this is getting to territory to where Kingzone, doesn't matter what comp they have, they're just too far ahead. I don't think it's quite there yet, given the fact that the money is mostly on aiming, like you've spoken about, for the majority of this game, but it's starting to loom.
I think it comes to the point where you still feel like Afreeca on paper is favored for the team fights. We said 7 out of 10 before. It's kind of down to the 50-50 because the gold lead muddies the waters. Watch for when aiming gets into the fight. Notice it's still only now. The only person he can auto is the Grey Health Shield into the last bits of life onto Gorilla. He went Hurricane, which doesn't have the same synergy as before with the Supercharger, but still is a good indication of what he wants to do in a fight. As the AoE is down, he wants to be hitting as many people as possible. Aiming wasn't there from the start. That's why it ends up being a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and the Shockwave, honestly, didn't even really tickle Kingzone, unfortunately, for Kuro. Orianna's been a bit of a non-factor so far this game. BDD's almost a full Rabadon's death cap ahead of him in itemization, 5-1-5 on the Zoe. And now, if aiming gets picked ever, it feels like this game just ends.
And that is the sort of pressure that has been wearing on aiming, and we saw him overchase onto Prey before. Seen the Baron buff here. It's not the biggest one, only a 1900 gold Baron buff power play came through from Kingzone. There is no safe number when it comes to gold lead. I guess 15,000 at 30 minutes, maybe, but in realistic terms, there is no safe number, as eventually the Orianna will have the amount of ability power to be threatening. Right now, the Orianna has a build that tells me I don't want to die at the start of a fight. I need to be alive to put the Dissonance and the Command Protect onto aiming, more so than just I want to go for the maximum damage Shockwave. And while that's correct, actually having aiming there to profit off that build is very important.
Now Kingzone are building towards their Guardian Angels as well. You can see Prey very close to 6 items. He's got the Chain Vest, building towards that particular one. As Keen going to get slowed and sped up is Khan by the Hyper.
Shows that he has a ward over the brush there. By going for those last couple of autos, but not going to be too big a thing. Kingzone are all about the next Baron. If they have Baron control and you start walking through control wards, then the Sweet Hat on the Zoe is going to pose some big problems. And amusingly, Peanut says, well, I like you more than I like Prey, and puts the Knight's Vow onto the Zoe. He definitely has a lot of power.
Knows where his bread's buttered this game, I think, as B2D has certainly been going back to the Zoe play of previous eras. 4 items on both of the carries is just huge for Kingzone. They're at a great point at this stage in the game.
I just like the fact that we're 34 minutes in, there's a 9,000 gold lead plus, and it's still close. It's still tense, because we know that with all the gold loaded onto Amy, he definitely got the funnel here, even if it wasn't the funnel from level 1 with Smite that we're used to. The Afreeca Freecs still have team fights with their team fight comp that they will win against Kingzone. It may not be every time, but the right setup here can punish Kingzone DragonX.
Now that he's got the Runon's Hurricane as well, this AoE build coming in from aiming is just going to be so incredibly effective. Now has Lifesteal on the same side with the Phantom hit. It's going to be very difficult to kill. They need to lock him down and take him out if Kingzone are going to win any sort of fight, but I have a feeling they're just going to try not to fight. Spread Afreeca thin, don't let them have their 5-on-5.
And fight where the terrain suits you, i.e. poke people out around the Baron, either take the Baron or kill someone coming to face check. That is the way Kingzone win this game. The minion waves in bot and top were slow pushing around the time that Baron was about to spawn. Crucially for Afreeca, they can actually move there assertively and clear them before the Baron spawns. If they had waited any longer, that would have been an extra variable, kind of the 6th man for Kingzone. That would have made this Baron even more untenable for Afreeca. But this is the last moment. I think the game will be decided around this Baron play. If Kingzone get it easily, that's another thing that I think Afreeca be stretched too thin and probably will be taken down. Play 3 lanes against Afreeca. They will not enjoy it.
Oh, misses the headbutt pole.
Yeah.
Doosan once again. Struggling as aiming gets out of the way of that one, but he's still very low. The Ignite is ticking down now as Peanut trying to be the hero in the backline. BDD also is in there, but Killer Instinct, the shield is too much. 1-for-1 trade in the end as BDD launches forward. Doosan, oh, the sleepy trouble bubble is the end of the cow. And the backs now have to happen for Afreeca Freecs. It's a 1-for-2 in favor of Kingzone. They don't care about Baron, they're breaking the base.
Exactly, and they lost their Camille as well, so a lot of gold from these fights. The 5v5s are not going to be honest. They take this mid lane inhibitor. There's no Smite on the side of Kingzone. Oh, looking for more picks.
Yep, Spirit almost going to get stunned up by the trouble bubble. Every single one of these feels like a death sentence from BDD. Portal jumping forward, Khan trying to get the slows down so that these Mystic shots, these Paddle Stars, can wreak havoc on the Afreeca Freecs players. And aiming, as soon as he gets slowed, as soon as he doesn't have the shielding from his team, he can't play aggressive, he can't play forward, and he can't utilize the 9 kills, that he's been able to pick up this game.
And you knew there was no threat on Prey. He didn't even have to use his Seraphs in that fight. He still has it off cooldown. Waiting for Peanut to respawn. Probably going to be one shopping trip here before the Baron is returned to. Camille gets no value in the backline. Doosan again off on his combo. When it came to the start, and I wasn't even sure that comboing the Gnar was the right way to start the fight. Aiming goes back to hoovering a side wave. Feels like he's very likely to be the full-on figure that Keen has been so much in recent games.
Yeah, and I mean, Doosan's performance just feels night and day, from almost picking up MVP for the whole season in spring. And now missing headbutt poles, not having the coordination with his team. That's everything that we prized him on earlier. Might be, you know, next few games we might be seeing Jelly for the first time.
but closer than you would be comfortable
feels
thinking about
insane.
if you're a Freeca Freecs, right?
Yeah.
That might actually be a consideration. Not sure where the mentality is for Tucson after, of course, being involved in that Afreeca squad that did drop that final game to RNG at Rift Rivals.
No.
Who's to say that didn't do a number at Afreeca's first ever international tournament? They need to focus on domestic because
Well, Peanut's going to find aiming, gets the kill!
That's it.
It's, yeah, basically going to be game over. Shockwave is okay from Kuro, but it's still the end of the game. As soon as aiming dies, it's going to be the win for Kingzone.
Bring up the big minion wave and bot side as Prey and Khan push in mid. Death time is too long. I think they've done it here. Kingzone DragonX, the 2-0 over Afreeca, unless Afreeca show us something that has evaded them all series.
Yeah, and they got two of their carries in the Death Chamber, Papa. I think you're exactly right calling this one at this stage as Kingzone DragonX. This is a reawakening for them. A beautiful performance against the Afreeca Freecs. Tucson once again going to fall. He's going to be able to land a headbutt pole combo, so proves to us that he can do that as Keen. Trying to go for the last-ditch effort, but everyone's dead. That's a hell of a KDA for BDD. 8-1-7 on the Zoe. It's beautiful. It's a 2-0. Kingzone